I do look familiar, I know. So I have as I told you, I mentioned that I had a treasure trove of acts of kindness that I can share with you, both incoming and outgoing, and it's wherever you want to start. I can do it, either way. But and I could take up a lot of time if you wanted me to. So I'll be as brief as you want me to as well. So what do you want to do?
Start with you receiving.
Okay. There's been a few things in my life. I was a musician for 30 years, and to be very brief on this one is that I always played in different places. I have toured. I cut a few albums. Okay. And this one occasion I was at, we had booked a date at a club, and we rarely ever did it, but we booked for a whole month. And I always like to hop around from place to place, because I want to get stale. So we booked at this club for a month, and it held about 500 people. It was a pretty big place, and maybe more than that even. And we played one night there in December. Well, don't you know? Imagine that. And the manager said, "I've been instructed to shut the place down." And when he did that, of course, there went my paycheck. Okay, for a month, and that was kind of tough. I was married, and I had twin sons at home, and I was like, "What am I going to do?" And there was no, barely could get by, and everybody's been there, I think, at some point in their life. Anyhow, this woman came forward, and she bought all the Christmas presents from my boys, my two sons, for get us through Christmas. And I was like, wow. I said, and I mean, when there's nothing like it when you don't have Christmas presents, and there's no way to get the Christmas presents, and someone came across like that and took care of me, and of course, since then, times have changed quite a bit, and I paid her back for her act of kindness. But that I will never, ever, ever forget what that woman did for me and my family. So that's kind of where everything kind of started with me. So that's the receiving part. Now, and I won't get into the all thing of how I became what I became, because I look familiar, right? Okay, so there's a reason for that, right? Obviously, and I won't get into how that happened because that's another story in itself. And I know we're limited for time, so I had several things that I could mention. I'll mention the short one first, and you tell me if you want a little more later. But this is pretty much a textbook story that a lot of gentlemen that are in my business hear and go through. And it was upon occasion several years ago where I was at and I happened to, and I do a lot of things. I do film, TV, I do commercials, do all kinds of stuff. And I was at a little, like a kindergarten. And I went in there and I do these things, for a major discount or for free a lot of times. And I went through the whole class, and they all had Christmas lists of what they wanted for Christmas, and I keep those, by the way. I always bring those home. And this little girl came up, and she sat on my knee, and she had her list, and I looked at her list, and her list said, "I want a Christmas tree. I want shoes, and I need a jacket." And I said, "Whoa." I said, "Okay." So I did my Santa thing as I normally do, and it's okay. Well, Santa's going to see about this, and I'm sure we can probably take care of it, but we're going to find out, okay? And I'll talk to my O's, and I went through that thing with her, and then I held on to hers, and then the teacher, trying to do the right thing, had collected all the Christmas list from the children and had them in a pile. And she wanted to get them. She had to get them from me because I had them. So I gave them to her, and I put hers right on the top because I want to remember who she was. So everything got done. We took photos. Everything was nice. And after that, I said bye to the class and all that stuff. And I said, "Can I have my Christmas wishes?" And she said, she gave it to me. And then later on, I came home and I spoke to my wife about this. And well, I said, "We got to call her. I'm going to call her." So I called the teacher, and I said, "What's going on with this girl?" I says, here's her Christmas list. She wants things that she really should have by now. So this is not good. And she said, okay. She said, I'll find out. She said, okay. So she made a phone call to the girl's mom. And the mom told her that the dad had left just the day before and said if she wants to see a Christmas tree, she can come to my girlfriend's house. What a rotten thing to do, right? It was awful. And I said, well, I said, my wife and I had talked about this, and that little girl's going to have a treat tomorrow. So my wife saddled up. She went out. She got a Christmas tree. She got ornaments. She got one that was already pre-lit so that it would light up for her. All she had to do was plug it in because she was a single mom with 3 children. And the teachers jumped in on this too. That's why I want to share it because they also jumped in on it too. There are two there, and one of them said, "Okay, I'll take care of that. I'll get you some things to bring there tomorrow." I said, "Okay, I'll meet you in the parking lot at the school grocery store." So I met her at the grocery store. I got the things in the parking lot. They were all wrapped in presents, and I was dressed as Santa again, but a little bit more like a working Santa, almost like now where you don't see the big old getup. And off I went. I loaded up the truck and went there, and I did have my hat on. And I went in the home and knocked on the door, and the mom said it was okay that I'd come. So I showed up at the door, and she come to the door, and I went in, and I said, "Okay, well, I've got something for you." And the little girl was there, and she said, "Santa, you were wearing white gloves yesterday." I said, "Well, today Santa's working, so he's wearing black gloves." So I said, "Okay, well, I got to get something." So I went in, went to the truck, came back, brought out the tree, threw the tree on the floor. So there it is in box. "Oh, thank you, thank you." I said, "Wait, there's more." And went back out to the truck. Then I came back in with what I could carry as far as the presents went. And we had a present for the mom, some nice stuff that she could use. And we had immediate presents like socks and coats for the child. And then we had stuff for the baby too, because there was a baby as well. And they're all loaded up. I said, "Wait, one more thing." And I went back out and I came back in and I had the other stuff that was for her. And before I left, I took off my hat, and I always carry these gold coins. I always do. It's what I do. I carry them around my pocket now. Anyway, and I gave him the 3 coins, and I said, "Just because you were very nice, and you're going to have a good Christmas." And then I said, "Bye bye," and I left. And then when Christmas time came around, 2 weeks later, the teachers also gathered up a bunch of presents and they just filled it all up, filled up the tree. And I didn't have anything to do with that one. They took care of the rest of it. And that was what I thought was a great thing. I mean, I left there in tears. That's what happens when you do these things.
I
So
love that.
I've been a professional Santa for 5 years now. Yeah,
Awesome.
so it's what I do. And I had another one. I don't know how much time you have.
You're up. Honestly, we're running tight on time.
Okay. Okay.
I
Well, I
did
have
it.
plenty of them.
Yeah, I love this.
Last year I did 80 dates, 80 appearances last year, and so I stay very busy, and I do a lot of internet commercials and that kind of thing, and I am in the Comcasting networks and background and all that kind of stuff. So I'm available out there, and I'm
How
and
can
I
we contact you? How can we contact you?
well
Website, social media?
I'm a SantaBenClaus.com. Okay.
Spell it out.
Right.
SantaBenClaus.com. Okay.
SantaBenClaus.com. No E on the end of clause because they started to do that with the movies.
So spell it out for us because I gotta spell it out for the people who watch this later. Could you spell it out the website letter by letter?
Sure, it's Santa Santa Ben Santa Ben Claus Claus.com. And I'm also on YouTube. I have like a 10-episode YouTube channel, and it's on the Santa B Claus. Okay,
Santa
Santa
B.
B,
Claus.
yeah, Santa space B space Claus, and the same thing with the Instagram. It's Santa underscore B underscore Claus, and so I'm available. I'm out there. I have an agent in town here in Nashville, Talent Trek. So that's pretty elusive. The,
Thank
the,
you.
the televised commercial thing is elusive. I've done a bunch of internet stuff, but
Yes. Thank you
say
so much.